Hey everyone, it's Kellen from RacerX again with another race examination video as we look back at what happened at the RedBud 2 National and a couple of the key moments to highlight before we head into this weekend's Spring Creek National. And we're going to jump right into it with this contact that happened between Dylan Ferrandis and Jeremy Martin about the halfway point of the first 250 moto. Now this was brewing for a long time. Ferrandis was slowly catching Martin as they were trying to work their way forward through the field, and then this contact happened where they both kind of ran into each other. Ferrandis was able to get going first, and Martin took a little while to get back on the bike and lost several positions. He would finish 11th in this moto, but as you can see, as they come in together for the contact, there isn't really much of any contact until right there. Ferrandis' right elbow kind of clips Martin's left elbow, and it shoots his momentum forward. So Ferrandis is more or less falling just because he was trying so hard to avoid Martin that he rode up the banking, and Martin fell just from that slight little elbow tap. So very little contact there whatsoever. But what Ferrandis was trying to do was what he ended up doing to RJ Hampshire late in the second moto, which is basically out-drag Martin to the inside of this corner here. But it was a gap that was inevitably going to close there, and the contact obviously was made, sending them both to the ground. Now this corner did provide some fireworks throughout most of the day, as well as Justin Barcia also sized up a fairly aggressive pass on Marvin Musquin here, shooting down the inside and pushing Musquin out before LaRocco's leap. And it's interesting to see how few people were upset by this maneuver, whereas a lot more people were upset with Ferrandis' maneuver. In the end, two different instances, of course, but limited contact there versus Barcia coming down the inside and really throwing Musquin off the track in that instance. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by OnX Off-Road. Nowhere to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 400,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the OnX Off-Road app today. Now back to this same corner, there was another instance between a Geico Honda rider and a Star Racing Yamaha rider in the same spot when Jet Lawrence ran into Ty Masterpool, who fell right in front of him. And it's really interesting to hear Lawrence recall how this situation all panned out in front of him.
And he ended up coming across. I tried braking. You can see on the video, I nose manual into his bike. I'm doing the nose manual thing again. So, you know,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not good. And up front, but he went and grabbed his leg, and you'd think another person would be pissed, but me, out of everyone else, I ask him, "Are you okay?" And I go and help move. Like, I didn't know I wanted to move because he was kind of in the way of getting my bike up. So I go and like lightly get his leg and kind of help him to sit back up. So I'm like, "You good? You good?" He's like, "Yeah." So I went and picked my bike up, but it's funny. I feel like most people would go and yell at him, but
yes.
I'm like, "Oh,
right."
It wasn't really like he obviously crashed, but it was just bad luck. I was there in the wrong time. So like.
So how about good guy Jet Lawrence making sure Masterpool is okay before he picks his own bike up? Cool little camaraderie moment there right in the middle of a heated battle. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the second 450 moto start where Cianciarulo initially gets the whole shot, but there's a lot of carnage that happens behind him. And the initial carnage that we see is Eli Tomac down out of the second corner, and it put him way, way back. But there's actually more carnage to talk about in this crash. Now, if you look in the middle of the screen here, Chase Sexton in the red gear going wide, but watch Justin Barcia screaming across the screen here. And as it picks up the next shot, as it pans to the next shot here, you'll notice that Barcia and Sexton have come together, and Barcia goes flipping over the bars. There's actually really good footage from Christian Craig and Brock Tickle's GoPro of that incident, but we really don't see anything of what happens with Tomac here. He just kind of gets shuffled into the middle of the pack and goes down. But these are the things that can happen if Tomac doesn't get the good starts, which he is often not able to find sometimes, and down here early in the second moto. Speaking of Cianciarulo, though, he was potentially on his way to a 1-1 overall victory for what would have been his first overall victory in the 450 class of his career before he crashed while leading in the second moto here, trying to lap Tristan Lewis. Zach Osborne goes by, Blake Baggett goes by. Fortunately, we know Cianciarulo picks it up in third and still wins the overall with those scores. But I wanted to break down this pass attempt a little bit closer because it looked like Cianciarulo did make contact with Lewis when he went down. But if you look at it closer, you can see he's trying to go around the outside of Lewis. This rut kind of hooks back in, and he doesn't want to cut back in and actually hit Lewis. So he tries to jump out of the rut. It pitches his weight sideways, and he high sides and goes down. Very similar to what happened with Zach Osborne and Dalton Dyer at Ironman, where Osborne was basically just trying to beat Dyer to the punch. Osborne ends up hitting him and going down. You can't really put blame on the lapper here because this is more or less Cianciarulo just thinking he was going to be clear and ultimately not able to get to the spot in time. The last thing I want to talk about is this really nice pass Blake Baggett put on Zach Osborne for the lead in the second moto, where he kind of jukes him to the outside, squares him off to the inside, and makes this pass up the inside. And I wanted to let you guys hear what they both had to say about this pass right now.
I think it was like the Geico commercial where the guy's got the dollar bill and he throws it out there on the string line and he's faking you with it. He pulls it up and down. I kind of pulled one of those. I faked that I was going right, but I went left. That doesn't happen often, especially I've been riding with Zach, so we know each other now. And I was going to go to the right and go to the outside, but when I jumped at the tabletop, he gave a little look over the shoulder. I'm like, he's never going to let me pull this one off. I know it. So, that was the last second decision.
Yeah, he read me like a book. Like, of course I wasn't going to let him just ride around the outside of me. And I had been taking that outside quite a bit because I was basically just following Adam. And then whenever I got in the lead, I was like, oh wow, now I'm going to have to make some lines of my own. So, like he said, he was on the right side of me. I could hear him on the right side of me on that tabletop. And as soon as we landed, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go outside. I know he's already on my right, but he must have slowed way down to pull back and then go left. So I got buried up in that berm out there, and he was gone.
So just kind of funny to hear some of the race crap that goes on during the race that you don't always get a chance to hear about from the riders as they broke it down in the post-race press conference. But that is RedBud 2 wrapped up, and we are heading into the 6th round of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship this weekend in Spring Creek.